But if you have something that you, apa-apa problem regarding our subject semua, you let me know lah. Okay, do not keep quiet and then do not submit anything. Then I do not know what's your problem. So if you have problem, let me know upfront. Okay, jangan keep quiet and then I have to search. Bila saya siapkan coursework nanti, saya have to search. Okay, why you do not submit in this part? Okay, so for those who had not submit anything, you forgot ke, so contact me ASAP. Okay. Kok hilang dah? Alright, so now the topic here is on SQL System Aspect. So this is the last topic. Okay, what is System Aspect? So basically it's about the management of SQL. Okay, what SQL give and so on. So basically we have database security, transaction management, okay, and database recovery. Okay, so what is database security? I think for this part, everybody is talking about this. You want to make sure your database is secured. So secured meaning breach orang, people can hack into it, get the database, or in terms of the physical storage of it pun. Alright, so database security, there's a lot of mechanism to protect the database against intention or accidental threat. So we need to control that. Okay, so this part, I think, I hope that you can take a look on this. So the database on your own. So because security now at our era, everything is digital. So it's everything in the database. So it's very crucial to make sure that it is secured. Okay, you do not want your data to be stolen, your data is taken without your consent and so on. So these are all the problems that you can avoid. Alright, so these are the measures to avoid. Okay, let's move to here. So the threat could be any type of threats. Intentional or unintentional. So sometimes you do not meant to do the threat also. Okay, so the threat could comes from user, from the one who developed the system, and also for the database admin also. So it could, basically the threat comes from the people who are with bad intention or sometimes do not know to use. Okay, I'm giving you the examples of a real situation happens in SOC that but maybe 10 years ago. So one of our clerks in SOC office, that happened 10 years ago lah. So she's not she's a makcik-makcik lah, meaning she's not a real youngsters who actually learn how to use the system and so on. So when the new system is introduced to them, so they have to really learn how to use that system. So this staff, when given to use a new system, so she keep on forgetting the password and so on. So what she did was she write all the instruction, including the ID and password, and she pasted on her table, on her desk. What does it mean? So she means well. She doesn't have the intention to harm the system, to harm the data and so on. But being her forgetful and so on, she just put it on the table and glue it to the table. And it's a system of, your system of students' costs and so on. So what happened? It's really exposed, okay? So the firewall and so on. So I'm not going to go on this part. So I have put up the notes. So hopefully you can read it on your own. Okay, but basically what is authorization? What is authentication? Okay, a lot of people cannot differentiate the two things of authorization, authentication. Authorize meaning you give that person the authority, okay, the power to get access. So for example, let's say when I give you, when you are enrolled into UUM as a UUM student, so you are being authorized to use the UUM portal with UUM student account. So that is authorization. So but your authorization is only until accessing sahaja. Okay, but as a staff, academic staff, I'm given the authorization to use this part. So authorization is the power or the privilege or the rights that's given to a particular user. Okay, authentication is happen after you given the authorization. So how authentication is basically how you want to make sure that that is the right user you give access, you authorize. Okay, so that is authentication. So I hope that you know the difference between authorization and authentication. So all this based on view. So I'm not going to explain more on view. We have touched a lot of things about view last time. Okay, let's go to this part. Okay, so how do you, this is to give authorization. Okay, when you want to give authorization, you want to give to whom? So the whom, you have to create the role. Okay, so you must create the role so that you can give the authorization or the privilege to that role. So here, how to create role? Simple, create role. So this one manager, create role, student, create role, staff academic, create role, staff admin, and so on. So basically, you have to create the role first. Okay, so when you create the role, so that particular person with that role can access. Okay, so what can you do? What can be allowed? So you can allow to select, basically query. You can do insert, update, and delete, or maybe you can use other things. So basically, you can do based on how are you going to allow to use it. So for example, like student, your privilege is just to select, meaning to see your results, right? Can you do something about your results? And for me, I can only insert your results. Okay, I cannot modify your results after it's already endorsed by Senate. Okay, once it's submitted to HA, I have nothing to do with it because the updating and so on is based on them. So that is what we call as a privilege. What you can do, the authorization role. So how do you give it? So you use grant statement. So first you create the role first, okay, and then you grant. Okay, so how it is done? Grant, what do you want to give? Okay, so let's say this is for VC. Okay, I think for VC we give all the privilege. So all privilege on what table? Okay, to whom? Whom ni is your role. Okay, with grant option. Grant option meaning if you have the subclasses. If you want everybody can do that, so you just give it to public. Okay, so this is an example. Give manager full privilege, meaning it can do anything to staff table. So provided this one must already created dulu. So you have done this first. Create role manager. Okay, we assume you have done that. Okay. So once you have done that, only then you can give that privilege. Okay, so in this case, grant or privilege on what table? On table staff to manager. This one with grant option. If you do not put, it's fine. But if you put, meaning under manager, you have subclasses like sales manager, personnel manager, finance manager, whoever the subclasses, we can also get the privilege on this table. So that's what with grant option, meaning it can be passed on or passed to subclasses. Okay, subclasses. Okay, so this one, you want to only give personnel and director only. the select. So it can only select, meaning view only, but you cannot update. And update on column salary of staff. So grant select, comma, update salary. So meaning you can do update on the salary for table personnel and table director. To whom? Okay, is it clear? Any questions? Okay, so basically you grant that privilege. Okay, so the grant here also, wait. Okay, so let's say if you want to give it to everybody, so you can just give it to everybody, to public, meaning everybody can access it. So this one they can just, what can they do? Just query, right? Just to display, select. Okay, however, let's say once you have given the privilege, suddenly that person quit from your company. Or maybe that person is already no longer, you want to give that particular thing that can allow him to do. Okay, maybe the last time you allow the director to modify the salary, but now you think that no, only personnel can do that. So you can, when you give, you can take back. So how do you take back? Is by revoke. Revoke is take back. Okay, provided you have already given. You cannot take something that is not given. So you must give first, meaning you must grant whatever. Okay, then you can take it back. You cannot take back something that you have not given. Okay, so for example here, now they said that takes away the privilege. So you revoke, what do you take for? Okay, on what? From whom? So from instead of to lah, because you take from whom. Okay, so now you take a look here. So now you have, or you give that public just now. Okay, remember you give the public this one, grant select on public, on branch to public. So now you said that everybody cannot even see the details of the branch one. So you need to take back. So you just revoke back what you want to give from on what table, from whom. Okay, provided this has already granted. Okay, this already granted before. Okay, so now you said that, okay, now we want to sack the director. We do not want director to interfere with everything. So you said that revoke all privilege on staff from directors. Okay, so is it clear? Is it clear? So today, what do? You create rule. Okay, and then you give authorization. Basically, you grant, okay, the privilege. If you're not satisfied, then you can take back. So you learn about how it can take back. So it's called revoke. Okay, clear? All right. So another one, this is important in transaction management. Okay. I remember when I did my master's, like 15, 16 years ago, I have to learn this topic only on the transaction part. Okay, just the subject, the course is about the transaction. Okay, so what is transaction? Okay, remember that most of what you have done here, okay, in the project is only database. Okay, but you have to remember that we give you the basics of how to develop a good database, and then you learn how to do that database, and later when you have to do a system, you need to connect the system. So now what you learn is doing this part. This is the database. So you design this, you develop this for your project. Okay? But in real life, you cannot simply go straight away to the database. You need to use the application. This is what we call as the application that become your interface and so on. So this application could be developed in Java, if you're using Android for mobile apps, or maybe PHP, Python. So any language that you use. Okay, clear. So this is like the system lah. So the system is on and you have to marry it with the database. So in this class, you only learn this part. So we hope that you get this part correctly. So when you do your project later, you know how to, you have to know how to integrate it. Okay. So what is a transaction? A transaction here, this is like the form. So let's say you log in, you isi password. Okay. When you click submit, it will go submit into or store in the database. So something like that. So what we call as the transaction happenings. The one that you submit the data into the database, you modify the data, you do something that changes access or changes the content of database is what we call as a transaction. Okay, clear? Dulu, few years back lah, maybe 3 years back, database student has to do both application and database management. But with when we do that, a lot of students having trouble in this part, which somehow affected this part. So we want you to really understand this part first. Dulu, yes. Previously, yes. They have to do application and database. Now you only do database. Okay, so here, what is application? Application program is this one lah, the program that provide the transaction and between that. Okay, so a transaction, what does it call? Transform database from one consistent state to another consistent state. But what happened during the transaction? Okay, so this is the example of transaction. Okay, I'm not going to go for this. We go this first. Later we go back to the examples. Okay, transaction only have two. Whether it's a successful, whether it's a failure transaction. There's no halfway, no half success. No. It's either you success or either not. There are no half. Okay? No half. Alright. And it says that committed transaction cannot be aborted. Once it's already committed or meaning already successful, you cannot commit back. So for example, let's say you already transfer your money to one account and suddenly once you transfer it, you realize that, okay, I dah kena scam. So you want to try to abort the transaction. No, you cannot do that anymore because once it is done, it is done. Okay? You cannot abort it. Okay? However, if the system, let's say during the transaction, let's say you want to transmit the money to the scammer, for example, okay, suddenly during the transaction, when you are filling something in the form and so on, suddenly there's no electric or maybe your phone Kong, okay, out of battery. So meaning there's no halfway done, meaning it goes back to the initial state, meaning it's abort, it's rollback. Okay, clear? So the transaction only two types, whether it's successful meaning committed, whether it's failure. If it's in the middle, it will go back to a failure state. Okay. So if some of you have learned SAD, okay, if some of you learn SAD, they are part on the state diagram. So it shows the state diagram for the object of transaction. So what happened to the transaction? When it begin the transaction, the transaction is inactive. Okay, after it's done, when then you continue with part of it, so it's partially committed, suddenly ada breakout there's a electric failure and so on, then it will be aborted. Okay, so it's a fail one. So see, there's no half part. So once it's completed, then it's committed. But once committed, it cannot be aborted. Alright. So this one you have to remember. Okay, what we call as ACID. This is the properties of transaction. You have atomicity, durability, consistency, and isolation. Okay, what is atom? What is atom? atomicity ni bukan automatic ya. It's not automatic. It's atom. You learn science, right? You guys learn science, right? So what is an atom? Nobody wants to answer me. What is an atom? Guys, did you guys learn science at school? Or I'm talking to myself alone? Not remember. What is atom? Okay, what is atom? Atom is the smallest, right? Yes, the smallest whatever object ke apa, the smallest, that there is no half atom. No half atom, right? Atom is the smallest one. Meaning you cannot divide atom anymore. Atom is the smallest size of any objects and so on. Right? Okay. So meaning there's no half. Okay, smallest meaning there's no half. Alright? So that's what we meant by here. So when you learn about transaction just now, it either commit or either abort. So there's no half transaction happening. Okay, so atomicity is about all operation of transaction committed or not aborted. So there's no halfway. Durability, meaning whatever changes that you have made, so if it's done, meaning it's durable, it's there. Okay, I will give you an example later so we can take a look. So it's there. What is done is there. It's consistent. Okay. Consistency, serializability describe the result of the concurrent. Concurrent meaning when you use database, meaning you are going to have a lot of users. Okay, so concurrent meaning there are more than one users, a lot of users or transaction, a lot of transaction happening. Okay, this property is important in multi-user and distributed databases. So consistency and serializability is and isolation is almost they coupled together actually. Alright, so let's take a look at how it is done. Okay, imagine let's say my husband, okay, my husband has a limit of 10,000 ringgit of credit card. Okay, so he gave one supplementary card to his wife. Okay, which is me lah. So give one to me. Okay, give one to wife. So there are two cards using the same amount. Right? Understood? Okay, for 10,000 ringgit, you have two cards. So let's say the husband went shopping and wife also went shopping, but they went separately. So one in KL, one in Penang, for example. So the husband is trying to buy a 10,000 bag. And the wife is trying at the same time is also trying to buy 10,000 ringgit worth of let's say shoes. Okay, so now at the same time, but the total amount is just 10,000. Okay, so if the husband buy 10,000, the wife also buy 10,000, meaning negative 10,000, right? Do you think bank will allow you? No, not at all. Bank will not allow negative one. Okay, so what's going to happen like this? Katalah both are doing the transaction at the same time at 2 p.m. Okay, this one also do it at 2 p.m. So how do you think that the system will make sure that they would charge extra 10,000 ringgit? So this is where the ACID properties come in. Okay, we do not aware, you might not aware of it, but this why it happens like this, because of this ACID property. So ASIC property meaning it says that atomicity, concurrent, isolation and durability. Okay, so now, so the husband swipe the money first, let's say by 2.001 second. So the wife is a little bit 2.002 seconds. So once it starts the transaction, okay, to get the 10,000 ringgit from the amount, it will stop this one. So this is what the isolation is. You know what is isolation? Meaning it stop first, isolate, make the first transaction goes first. That is what isolation. And and consistency and serializability. So here happen consistency and serial. Okay, serial meaning what goes first. This one goes first, so it will isolate. So this one will stop, and maybe the wife think, oh, the machine quite slow. That's what happened. The same thing goes to when you do your enrollment course, enrollment subject enroll, right? So everybody is trying to get. So you say that why it's so slow? Why so slow? You said that, oh, everybody is assessing it. But this is why it makes your system slow, because it locked. Okay, it makes sure the isolation happens so that you can trust the data later. Okay, so it goes in serial. So the first transaction that goes in, even though it's fast within 0.01 second, it goes first. So it goes in isolation, meaning it doesn't interfere. Do not combine the time and so on. So when it's done, 10,000 ringgit, so it will deduct from the amount here. Minus 10,000 ringgit, what left? 0 ringgit, right? No more money. So this one, it's done, so it becomes successful. Then it becomes atomicity, meaning successful. So this wife, let's say, even though it's try to get that money to buy the shoes, but it will be fail, because it says that the amount is not 10,000 anymore, it's already 0 ringgit because of this isolation. And it's consistent, durable, meaning durable once it's already recorded as 0 ringgit, so it's maintained as 0 ringgit. You cannot roll back. You cannot say that roll back. Okay, what happened? I want to share my own experience at your Varsity Mall. Okay, in Varsity Mall you have a Bank Islam and CIMB ATM, right? Remember? So what happened is I am the user of Bank Islam. So I have the ATM card of a Bank Islam. Okay, so I want to get the money out, but the Bank Islam the Bank Islam ATM are full. So I use the CIMB. Okay, so let's just draw. Okay, so this is your Varsity Mall. So this is ATM machine of Bank Islam. Okay. Bank Islam. And this is in CIMB. Okay. So, but I am the card holder of a Bank Islam card holder. So I said, okay, everybody is queuing. Masa tu gaji, you get the salary, so you want to withdraw money. So I go to here instead sebab nobody is in the CIMB. So I try to withdraw 1,000 ringgit. This really happened to me. And then when during, you heard the money is to the extent of it's almost to get my money out. Okay, basically they ask you how much you want to get the money out. I said 1,000 ringgit. So and then it starts processing. You heard the sound of the ATM. You remember? Suddenly the power out. No power. No power. and I just got my card. But the money is not out yet. So what happened? I was so scared because, I'm scared that my 1,000 ringgit will be deducted from my account. So I go back queue here. So I said that, okay, it's okay because my money, I learned in database, okay, it's atomicity. Once, if the process is not successful, it will roll back. It won't commit. Okay. Then I waited and suddenly, luckily there's nobody there, so I can go check my balance. But to my surprise, my balance is minus 1,000 ringgit. So I was like almost cursing in myself, in my heart, saying that, oh, why is happening like this? Why did my database lecturer say that my money won't be lost because of the atom, meaning it's completed, then it's successful or not? So I said that, okay, take a deep breath. So after 5 minutes, I try again. And the money is back into my account, 10,000 ringgit, meaning it need to roll back yet first. So not to worry if that happened to you. But let's say I got the money, but then I claim that I do not get the money. What happened? They have, the changes is permanent. Okay. So I cannot say that it's not done yet. Although I already got my card that time, but the money I cannot get. That happened to myself. So basically, you can rely on the power of acid lah. Atomicity meaning there's no half transaction. Okay. Consistency and serializability. Serial meaning it let the first transaction do first and then the second transaction do that. So that's why when you do your enrollment for your subjects, you saw that, okay, it's 40 more seats empty. So you start, but you say, oh, the system so slow. Actually, it given the queue to do it first. Okay, is it clear? Any question on acid? Okay. So tak apa, you can tengok lah. I hope that is the example yang saya bagi tadi tu should be okay dah. Okay, one thing about I said when we do database, because we want to serve a lot of data and we want to serve a lot of transaction, we want to serve a lot of users. So when there are a lot of users, you need to have concurrency control. Concurrency control, if one or two users are using it, fine. But let's say if you do not do the concurrency control, like student UUM at the same time trying to get enrollment at that time, so what happened to the system? Okay, so it can produce incorrect results if you do not handle correctly. Okay, so why you need to handle correct concurrency control? Because you have a lot of users, you can have the problem of lost update problem, meaning let's say when you take up the subject, this subject has 30 students and suddenly there are 100 students accessing it. Okay, if you do not handle it correctly, suddenly it's registered for 100 students, but actually it's for 30 students. So that is what we call as last update, uncommitted dependency, inconsistent analysis problem. So we take a look here. Okay, so this is, okay, it says that, let's say, T1, transaction 1, try to get the money 10 ringgit from the account. So that previously is 100 ringgit. Okay, at the same time, T2, another person, is putting money 100 ringgit to the same account. Supposedly, the final balance should be 190 ringgit, right? Correct? Because you take out 10 ringgit. But there could be a problem that somehow leave the balance to 90 ringgit. This is happening, okay, when you do not do the process of concurrency. Okay, when it begins the transaction, okay, you saw it's 100. Okay, meaning T2 start first. Begin transaction, it read also balance is 100. So this one, okay, so this one is going to get that money. So balance minus 10 and you should have that money. But in this case, they get the balance from the one that is not supposed to get first. So this is why it's important to have the asset. Okay, a lot of things that have basically must be covered on the asset. Okay, wait, I'm just going to go for this. How do you control it? There are two type of control techniques. Okay, locking and time stamping. So locking, you know why it's like isolation? Isolation just now. Basically, how do you become isolation? Because the first transaction starts first, so it lock. Second transaction need to wait until the lock is open. Only then the second transaction could happen. The case just now here, it does not lock. That's why it's a problem that in terms of the part. Okay, so both are conservative. Dah lama dah orang guna this one. It's locking and time stamping. So let's give you an example. So what is a lock? Lock, you need a key, right? Okay, so if it's just to read or to select, you can have shared, meaning anybody can do that. I mean, not a problem. But when you need to update, you need to perform something, modify the data in the database, then you need to have exclusive, because we do not want to have the problem of lost update. Okay, I'm giving you the metaphor of a toilet, public toilet. Okay, so this is the public toilet lah. Okay, shared key meaning everybody can enter the main toilet. This is where the sink is. Okay, so this is the part of a shower, and this is the part of a toilet. Okay, so shared key meaning everybody can access it, not a problem. But then you need an exclusive lock or key to do something on the database. So for example here, you need to have a lock if you want to go to the toilet. So you lock, right? What happens if you do not lock? What happens if you do not lock your toilet? Someone can just open it while you are in the middle of the transaction, right? So that's why you need to have it. If it's locked, you have to wait. That is the problem. Okay, you have to wait. Okay, so what happened here? This one also, if you want to go for shower, you need to get a lock so that you can lock and do your transaction. When you're done, you let others to do their transaction. So that is the concept happen. But somehow, this lock has a problem, what we call as deadlock. So let's take a look. I'm showing you the example here. So there are person A and person B. So let's say this toilet are fully occupied lah. Okay, or maybe rosak, or it cannot be used. So you only have one shower and one toilet. So A come first, he wants to go to the toilet first. So he go in, so A is in here, get the key. So B, when she come, he wants to go to the toilet too. But then since A is using, so she said, why not I get the lock for shower? I can shower first. Okay, after I'm done, I can go to the toilet. Okay, clear? Can you following? So both are getting the exclusive lock and doing the transaction. Okay, what problem is after A, okay, B is really cannot hold whatever he needs to do in the toilet. So he's really waiting for A to release the lock, to open the door, so that he can go and run straight away to the toilet, because he's no longer wearing pants or something like that. Okay, so he's waiting for A. However, A is waiting for B to open the door, because he just want to run from here to here. You get what I mean? A is waiting for B to release the door. B is waiting for A to release the door. So what happened? Everybody is waiting for each other. What happened? never ending lah, right? You wait for me, I wait for you, and you're not opening. So that is the problem as what we call as a deadlock. The problem of locking. So it's a deadlock. Okay. So the deadlock here, when two transactions each waiting for a resource that the other transaction hold. So you keep on waiting, but forever waiting. So that is the problem. Okay, so you need to handle that. There are three ways of handling that. So this is an example, so you can take a look how it is done. So keep on waiting. Okay, so you need to release to do the other transaction. This one need to release to the other transaction. So how do you do this? First, you have timeout. Okay, timeout meaning after some time, if the system is so slow like this, then you say that after 10 minutes, the lock will be released automatically. So imagine what happened to the A and B here. After 10 minutes, the lock will be opened automatically. So it release, then you go back to your initial position. So here, the deadlock here, you can use the timeout, meaning you have to set, okay, if the problem of deadlock occurs more than 10 minutes or more than 5 minutes, you have to release the lock. So that is a timeout. So another one is deadlock prevention. Deadlock prevention is the programmer. Okay, programmer or the developer need to know that there shouldn't be a transaction waiting for another transaction waiting for that. You try to prevent that. So when you do the design, you have to know that what's the case. Okay, so try to avoid that. And also deadlock detection and recovery. So take a look here. Okay, so deadlock prevention. This is the one that can be done by the developer. Okay, so you can have wait die. Older transaction can wait for younger transaction. Okay, otherwise this transaction is aborted. So meaning only one wait. The other has to release the lock. Would wait only a younger transaction can wait for an older one. If the older transaction requests lock held by the younger one is aborted. So meaning it based on who asked for the lock. So let's say, okay, if the older transaction, the one that goes first, asks for the part, so not whatever the problem is, he need to release the lock. So that is what we call as wounded. Kalau wait and die here, meaning the transaction is aborted. Okay. Alright, so that one basically what you need to know lah. So other than that, you can read. So what most important about this topic is about what you have learned just now, grant and revoke, and exit. Exit is very important. Okay. In doing the transaction and also on the deadlock lah. But not to worry, you might be worried, how do I incorporate this in my programming? No, not to worry, because it's already incorporated actually. But you have to understand why it happened like that. When let's say people ask you why I have to wait so long. Okay, so you have the answer. Alright, the rest I think you can read on your own lah. Okay, you have the textbook, so please do read it. Okay, and I think that's the end of our topic. So your test 2 will be from topic 5, meaning SQL, starting of SQL until today topic. So it will be in true, false or MCQ. Okay. All right. So any questions? Anything regarding project? Anything else? Okay, so take a look at your portal. Okay, let me just take a look one more time at your portal, whether I can access it. Can you guys access your portal? No, I still cannot access your portal. So not to worry, because if if your meaning it says that you're not coming ke apa ke, because I already created the class just now. So tak apa, nanti I just approve je lah you all. Right? Okay, I think that's all for today. What is the maximum rows we can? Banyak is fine. Okay. Many is fine, but at least 6. 6 rows. I need 6 rows of data. So that it enough for the manipulation. Tak payah banyak-banyak pun tak apa. It's okay. Alright? At least. Alright. Okay guys. Any more questions? Okay. So if no more question, alright. Okay. Have a nice weekend. And okay, Chayo, the last week to go. One last week to go, right? And next semester, I hope to see you guys back in UUM. All right, guys, that's all. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
madam. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah. What? You want to make noise? Why do you want to make noise? Okay, I'm done.